Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so if you're planning to apply for a PhD in the United States, you already know it's an incredibly high stakes, highly competitive process. It's intense. But here's the thing, before you can even think about writing those personal statements, cramming for GRE scores, or doing interview prep, there is one monumental hurdle you've got to clear first, and that's contacting potential supervisors. Your very first point of contact, the cold email, can literally make or break your chances of securing a spot in a lab. So today, we're going to transform that daunting task into an absolute science, breaking down the exact anatomy of a successful outreach strategy. Okay, let's dive into this. It's a feeling so many prospective grad students know all too well, right? You spend hours, maybe even days, agonizing over an email. You finally hit send, and then nothing. Crickets! It can be incredibly frustrating and honestly pretty disheartening. You start to spiral a bit, wondering, is my GPA too low? Do they hate my research idea? Did my email just go straight to the spam folder? But the truth is usually a whole lot simpler, and it actually has nothing to do with your potential as a scholar.
The reality boils down to one simple word: hundreds. That is the number of emails these professors receive every single semester from prospective students just like you. It's a flood. The stakes are incredibly high, and the competition for their attention is just fierce. When an inbox is overflowing to that degree, professors simply do not have the time to decode a confusing message or reply to someone who clearly hasn't done their homework. To get a response, you absolutely have to stand out from this massive crowd.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at the high-stakes first impression and 5 paths to rejection. Then we'll reveal the golden template, dissect the winning pitch anatomy, and finally talk about surviving the silence. Let's get right into part 1, 5 paths to instant rejection. We're moving straight into our tear-down phase here, because before we can craft a masterpiece of an email, we need to identify the glaring mistakes that will send your message straight to the trash folder. Mistake number 1, the generic blast. If you send an email that just vaguely says, "I am interested in your research and would like to work with you," without mentioning a specific paper or project, the professor knows instantly that you've copy-pasted this to 50 other people. It just looks insincere. Instead, you need to be highly specific. Saying something like, "I recently read your article on linguistic resistance," instantly proves you actually did your homework. Mistake number 2 is all about volume. The ideal email clocks in at around 200 to 250 words max. Contrast that with the dreaded life story email, which is bloated at over 1,000 words. Look, super busy professors do not have the time to read a multi-page autobiography detailing your childhood dreams and every single academic triumph you've ever had. A long email like that, it might never even be fully read. Sweet, short, and to the point wins the day every single time.
Which brings us to mistake number 3, focusing entirely on your own achievements. Your grades, your awards, your certificates, sure, they're great, but if you don't connect them to the professor, they don't mean much. What supervisors are actually looking for is research fit. Think of it as this magical intersection where your specific academic skills perfectly align with a professor's current project. They are looking for a match to advance the work in their lab, not just an isolated list of impressive credentials. So when balancing your email content, a good rule of thumb is that roughly 80% of your focus should be outward. That means connecting your interests to their work, establishing that research fit, and explaining how working with them develops your goals. Only about 20% should be a brief mention of your personal background. Basically, stop bragging and start connecting. Mistake number 4 might seem super obvious, but you'd be surprised how often it happens. Spelling mistakes, grammar issues, and poor formatting. You really have to remember that this email isn't a quick text to your friend. It's your very first academic writing sample. If your first sample is sloppy, a potential supervisor is going to assume your research will be sloppy too. Proofread carefully. And finally, mistake number 5, asking questions that are already answered on the website. If you ask something like, "What are your research interests?" or "Do you supervise students?" you are basically shouting that you haven't even glanced at their faculty page. Contrast that basic approach with a truly thoughtful question. Are you planning to incorporate ethnographic approaches into your new project or migration? That shows genuine, deep engagement with their actual day-to-day research. All right, part 2, the golden email template. Now that we've cleared away all those landmines, we can build something beautiful. It's time for the makeover. We're going to construct a plug-and-play solution that systematically avoids all 5 of those pitfalls we just covered and maximizes your chances of getting a positive reply.
So the crucial point here is understanding the structure. A winning pitch isn't just a random collection of thoughts. It's a carefully engineered sequence. We've got 4 core components. Step 1, the sweet introduction. Step 2, the research hook. Step 3, the academic fit. And step 4, the thoughtful question. Moving into part 3, anatomy of the winning pitch. Let's break this down piece by piece. I highly recommend taking notes here or even pausing the explainer because this is the exact language you can adapt for your own outreach. Start with a crystal clear subject line like inquiry regarding PhD opportunities, your name, your research interest. Then we begin the body with the sweet introduction. Notice how perfectly concise and polite this is. You state who you are, where you're currently positioned, and exactly why you're emailing to express strong interest in their research and inquire about opportunities for a specific term and year. There is zero fluff here. You are respecting the professor's time right out of the gate. Next comes the research hook. This is where you brilliantly dodge that generic email trap we talked about. By stating you've been following their work, citing a specific publication title, and crucially mentioning a specific finding or project from that paper, you're flashing a massive signal that says, hey, I actually read your work. This immediately sets you apart from the hundreds of generic, copy-pasted blasts sitting in their inbox. Following the hook, we transition smoothly right into the academic fit. You briefly mention 1 or 2 key achievements or research skills from your background, but notice how this sentence pivots. It immediately connects those specific skills directly to the professor's current project. It keeps the focus entirely on mutual benefit. You are implicitly saying, here's how my specific background makes me a strong fit to contribute to the goals of your lab. And this brilliantly illustrates the final piece of the puzzle, the thoughtful question. You note that you've already reviewed their department website, but you'd love to ask a more specific question regarding their current research direction. By asking something nuanced, something absolutely not found online, you invite a dialogue. You aren't just begging for a spot in their lab, you are initiating a real peer-to-peer academic conversation. To wrap the whole thing up, handle your housekeeping gracefully. Mention that you've attached your CV and any other necessary documents, like a transcript or a research statement, for their reference. Say a polite thank you for your time and consideration, and sign off professionally. Maybe pop in a link to your LinkedIn or portfolio if you have one. And please, seriously, proofread everything one last time before you finish. Finally, part 4, pressing send and surviving silence. So you've drafted the perfect email, you've hit send, and the waiting game begins. I totally want to acknowledge that this can be incredibly nerve-wracking, but if you don't hear back immediately or even after a few weeks, take a deep breath. Do not be discouraged. As we established earlier, professors get hundreds of emails every single semester. A lack of response does not equal a lack of interest in you or your potential. Sometimes emails just get buried. Sometimes a professor's traveling, on sabbatical, or they simply don't have funding this year. Resilience is absolutely key here. Don't settle for just one. Keep identifying other professors whose research aligns with yours, and keep sending out these highly personalized professional emails. You now have the ultimate tool to make a stellar first impression in the academic world. No more generic blasts, no more accidental typos, and definitely no more sprawling life stories. Armed with this sparkling new, highly targeted template, the only question left is, who are you going to email first? Think about that one researcher whose work truly excites you. Pull up a blank email draft and start writing. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and best of luck on your PhD journey. You've got this.